Hi, today we're going to be revisiting our friend Neanderthal Guy, and we'll be looking at, since we've already done kind of an introductory piece about this particular website, we'll be moving on to, well, some places where he kind of waxes poetic about being a Neanderthal and being an introvert and how great it is and how superior you are if you are one of these folks. Um, So I have a couple of selections that kind of illustrate just how into it this guy is. Let's go. First, we have the Neanderthal Lawns for Home. This is also from archive.org, again at the Koanic Soul website, his old website, www.koanicsoul.com. This was posted on May the 22nd of 2012, and it goes like this. The Neanderthal is a living ghost, doomed to wander the chattering masses and find no rest save solitude. Even a snail has a refuge, the shell upon his back, but too often the Neanderthal has none. The meditation practices of Koanic Soul can be that home, a fortress of solitude, a place of inviolate integrity. Always there, always with you in the capital N now. Nevertheless, as incredibly fulfilling as it may be, a personal retreat is not enough. We also crave companionship, genuine friendship, the kind sapiens can never give. Now, if you remember, sapiens are, kind of the unwashed rest of us. Um, or extroverts. I wouldn't consider myself an extrovert, but I'm certainly not going to throw my lot in with this guy, although I probably have some Neanderthal DNA. I don't um, I don't believe his crap. So, um, though I probably do have some Neanderthal DNA given my own ethnic background, I'm just not going to count myself in on this. So yeah, I'm a sape. I'm probably a sape. I can never give love, never give genuine friendship. All right, moving on. That's why I've decided the mastermind group will now have two purposes. I guess the mastermind group was his little club, and one of his little clubs. He's had several little clubs. Okay, purpose one, help people implement Koanic Soul, which again is his meditation technique. Purpose two, provide a 100% Neanderthal home. The more I hear from the thinking men scattered around this barren world, the more I realize that what we need is a home. Henceforth, the mastermind group is no more. It is now the Neanderthal. Wait, what? This is in the same. This is the same post. I did not skip. First, the mastermind group now has two purposes. Then it's no more. Okay. And he has a section here titled, What You're Missing by Not Joining the Neanderthal, which, by the way, I think is an adorable name. Right now, I'm recording the premium version of Koanic Soul. It will not be free. I'll be uploading each stage of my progress onto the Neanderthal forum for feedback and criticism. Everyone who's already a member gets this and all future updates free for life. In fact, I've already updated my cone list several times, but I haven't shared these updates with the public. The Neanderthal is the only place that has them. Okay, that sounds exciting. More fundamentally, the core need of a Neanderthal introvert is for a home, a tribe. However, fellowship with sapiens extroverts is fundamentally unfulfilling. I'm gonna argue against that. I'm on the introverted side, and I've had a number of more extroverted friends, and it's been very fulfilling to have those friends. It doesn't mean that they can't have a good one-on-one friendship and have, an in-depth conversation for a few hours. They tend to have more friends than I do. They tend to thrive in larger groups. There's nothing wrong with being an extrovert. Okay. I've even learned from them. They have helped me to build social skills, actually. All right. But this guy, if he wants to have something against all extroverts, you know, that wouldn't be the weirdest of his ideas. However, fellowship with sapiens extroverts is fundamentally unfulfilling. The Neanderthal gives you something you may never have experienced in your entire life. A 100% Neanderthal environment. Ooh. It's remarkable when you discover that things you thought of as personal idiosyncrasies to conceal or downplay in a social setting are actually genetically defined traits shared by everyone else in the discussion. You begin to realize exactly how much was taken from you. What if there had been one other person like you at your high school? Now, what if everyone in your high school had been like you? This guy's a bit more fixated on high school than perhaps he should be. Any true Neanderthal who stops and considers that for a moment will find himself deeply shaken. I don't know. I mean, if everyone had been like me, how boring would that have been? I mean, it may have been easier, but it would have been less interesting. I mean, and that applies to most of life. All right. So yeah, like in jobs, if everyone at my job thought like me, sure, things would be done perfectly because I have the perfect vision of how things should be done at any job. And anyway, but it would be kind of boring. I would have nothing to learn from anyone around me. All right. Any true Neanderthal who stops and considers that for a moment will find himself deeply shaken. I guess shaken in a way he might shaken by the boredom. I don't know. Once the premium version is done, I will take down the free version you see in the sidebar now. I guess there was a free version of his meditation technique, where you could click on it in the sidebar somewhere. I can't see his actual website, so I'm reading this off of a document I prepared, F+ style. This is your last chance to join up for free. We've just switched from Google Groups to Buddy Press, whatever the fuck that is. I've never heard of Buddy Press. So everything is starting over afresh. Get in while the getting's good. To apply, email me with face pic, reasons for joining, and a brief bio. koanixsoul@gmail.com. Hey, he puts it out there. I'm not doxing him. Alright, so that's him, trying to start this new thing because he's realized Neanderthals just absolutely can't function in the world of sapiens, and, they... Now, I appreciate the usefulness of online communities for people who can't find community elsewhere, in general. However, I think that it can also be limiting, and it is important to maybe diversify a little bit your participation in online communities, or even your lurking. Don't just lurk in one place. I lurk in all kinds of places, as you can see. Alright, wetting my whistle a little. Today's drink is, a very, very basic shock top. Nothing special. Alright, we're moving on here to the next selection from Koanic Soul. And this is one I think is particularly worthy of our appreciation. The Manifesto of Neanderthal Dominion. Now, anything called the Manifesto is fun. I'm a reader of manifestos, to some extent. Anything called the Manifesto is guaranteed to just be a ride, a trip, an experience. The Manifesto of Neanderthal Dominion, posted on June 8th, 2012. And again, I found this on archive.org. Just assume I found it on archive.org. I'm not going to cite it anymore. But yeah, just look for Koanic Soul on archive.org if you want to see any of this. Kind of, if you want to see the original. If you don't believe me that this guy exists, or you want to make sure I'm not misquoting him, or whatever. Here's what he has to say. When the full extent of my brokenness became apparent to me, my horizons receded to the boundaries of self. I looked no further than self-repair. Now my gaze is again lifted upward to the indistinct haze where earth blends to sky. There is great darkness and instability ahead. Some would take that as cause to lament, retreat, and dig in. Nothing wrong with that response. But instability is also opportunity. This seems like something from like The Art of War or something like that. I actually kind of like his beginning here. It's a little dramatic. It reminds me, it's Elder Scrollsy, it's Tolkien-y, it's fantasy, but I kind of dig it. I don't mind the intro. Instability is also opportunity. Very deep. Yeah. Okay. There is not one country in the world here's where he starts to, I don't know where this comes from. He says, there is not one country in the world that I can call well governed save Singapore. Singapore, of all places. Led by a right-thinking introvert dictator. Okay, so the only well-governed country in the world is Singapore. Everywhere else just sucks. Western nations with democracy and freedom of the press and things like that. I don't know a lot about Singapore, but I gather they're quite draconian in their laws. Not something I think that I would appreciate if I lived there. Who knows? I might be all for it because I'd be a totally different person raised in a totally different place. Moving on. One could accept this misgovernment as an inevitable consequence of the sapiens extrovert majority, but sapiens was built to be ruled, and ruled he is, albeit incompetently. I maintain that dominion is the natural right of the right-thinking and genetically superior. I maintain that today's ruling elite is weak, and that the masses will follow the strongest. I say power is within our grasp. Sapiens has made it clear that he will be either at our throats or at our feet. In the hands of evil and deluded rulers, he represents an existential threat. Independence and retreat are not viable options. They provide at best a tenuous security for a few isolated individuals. For if we all retreat to vaults in the coming Holocaust, we will all be raided. Not if you're all in vaults, because everybody will be in their vault. And I think this is a slight dig at Tex Arcane, who we saw in our last episode about this guy, because he's actually building a vault somewhere in the desert in Texas. I'd love to meet the guy. Or, well, look at his stuff, I suppose. He's somebody we're going to check out later. At least I hope. One day sapiens will scorch the skies and poison the earth. A little bit of an environmental message there? Even the best prepared cannot know that they will survive, and even then survival is hardly thriving. Far better to seize the reins now and turn this mad chaos to our own ends. The first step is internal harmony, resolving the contradictions of our mixed heritage, for we are not pure Neanderthal. Well, of course not. That would be just too much. But a bastard blend of sapiens, Neanderthal, and melonhead. Couldn't you have chosen a better name for your alien people than melonhead? Your manipulative alien people? Okay. This allows us to call upon the best weapons of each, or fall into the worst vices of all. After self-mastery comes deception, the ability to move through a hostile world undetected, extract its benefits, and evade its penalties. This is the time to consolidate power and form a network of allies. The final phase is dominion, a transition from manipulation to outright exercise of sovereignty. Then, to the victor go the spoils. Endless wombs! Endless wombs! The soft eugenics of status, or the hard reality of conquest. I'm pretty sure the hard reality of conquest there is a rape reference, and I'm not keen on that. Gotta put in my 2 cents here. Impossible? Hardly. History is the story of competing conspiracies. It has happened before and will happen again. When I was half dead, I maintained dominion over one woman. How much more of an asshole is this guy gonna be? Dominion over a woman. That's an accomplishment. You dominate your spouse. Was this a willing thing, or I don't want to know. Never mind. How many sapiens can I dominate when healthy? How many could a group of those like me? Ooh, kinky. Neanderthal on sapien domination. Right. If it takes burning half the world to place the other half under Neanderthal rule, I am for it. Better than a future dominated by intellectual cockroaches, who will leave a world inheritable only by actual cockroaches. Dominion is a long way off, a long way off, in steps if not time, but deception is here and now. Mask your guileless eyes, lest Sapiens, heeding his original command, turn and tear you to pieces. Rather speak to him in the voice of Oannes. Oannes is, I think, a biblical figure, but I'm not going to bother to look it up right now. I don't care. And he will obey. So he's saying basically, use your wiles and grow strong and prosper. But do not forget who you are. The will to power beats in your hearts and loins. You are born to rule. Make it so. Okay, so he's really getting into it there. I have not very much more to say about that, except that I'm a little bit, to be honest, based on what I've read of this guy so far, though he has, at times, his misogynist tendencies, and we'll see how that turns out in another episode, or possibly in this. I'm not sure how much time I'll have. We'll see exactly how his views on women evolve. But the fact that he seems to be making a kind of oblique reference to rape, to raping people who are conquered, that is uncharacteristic in a way, because one of the things he continually accuses sapiens of is raping Neanderthal women. So I guess it's okay when it's the other way around. We have hypocrisy, we have misogyny, we have, just acceptance of unnecessary brutality. All right, we have a jerk here. You're looking like a jerk in this. Yeah. Tone it down. Okay, so he wants to take over the world and he's an asshole. We've got that from this, and also he's he pictures himself on a podium making a speech to a frothing crowd. Maybe not a crowd, just like a room, because there aren't that many Neanderthals by his lights. Alright, now we have another little essay here, and this one is based on an article in, if I'm not wrong, let me check here. I believe it's Scientific American, but I'm not sure. It's kind of important to understand what he's saying that we actually go and look at this article. Yeah, Scientific American. I have looked at the article before. It talks about wolves versus dogs and their problem-solving abilities and how they socialize and how they work together as groups. So there's going to be a long quote from it, which is why I mentioned the article before we get started. This essay here is called "Why the Wolf Won't Meet Your Eye," and it was posted on August 19th of 2015. And it begins thusly. His mad gaze drifts randomly across your face, never locking your pupils. There's threat in this mannerism, a reminder that you are made of meat. To him you are nothing, only pack is real. Okay, and here we begin with the quote. See, he has one or two sentences of his own, no, 3 sentences of his own, and then he begins with a quote. Both dogs and wolves were equally adept at learning the 2 tasks, indicating that there were no group differences in terms of motivation or physical abilities, but large differences emerged when given impossible problems to solve. In both impossible tasks, as well as in the earlier eye contact experiment, dogs instinctively shifted their attention away from the food and toward the humans. Despite the fact that they had been fully socialized, the wolves treated each of the situations as physical problems rather than social ones. Only rarely did they ever attempt to engage in a communicative problem-solving interaction with a human. It's not that wolves are unintelligent. It's quite the opposite, in fact. Wolves are cooperative hunters, skilled at negotiating within their own social networks. It's just that even after being raised by humans, wolves simply do not see humans as potential social partners. Okay, fair enough. So that's about wolves versus dogs. That's the end of the quote that he gives. And then he goes on. Thals, aspies, and deep sockets also make reduced eye contact. This is for two reasons. 1. We are a small tribe, only pack is human. 2. Relational and communicative intensity is calibrated higher. Less means more. Direct eye contact is nuclear. Try to force it, and you may get it. Similarly, wolves use eye contact amongst themselves. And that goes again to another, I think it's another link to the article, I'm not, or to a wolfcenter.org. I don't know, it's some website about wolves. I'm not going. Yeah, Aspies. So Thals is his cute nickname for Neanderthals, and he's done that on his own. And Aspies is what some people call those with Asperger's. I think it's stupid. Um, I would, I don't know. I mean, I guess you're going to have to ask people who have a diagnosis of Asperger's whether they prefer that or not. I would guess. I don't know. It's stupid sounding. That's my opinion on it. If somebody wants to be called an Aspie, fine. But I think it's just personally it just doesn't roll off the tongue very well. It's too cutesy. I don't know. I mean, I'm not going to get into my own self and my diagnoses and things of that nature because no one wants to hear it, but I wouldn't make up cute nicknames for any of it. Going on. Large tribe R selected society punishes eye contact avoidance. So R selected, I think I may have explained in the last episode that's as far as I understand it, it is having as many kids as possible without necessarily investing all that much into them. So having a lot of sex and a lot of kids without much consideration. Um, and that's not what humans do. Like, as a rule, that isn't what humans do. We can only have one kid at once, for one thing, for the most part. I'm not an anthropologist, though, or a biologist, and neither is this guy. So I'm not going to go any further into what R-selected means, and even if I don't even know if it's considered a valid category anymore, or if it's just something this guy uses. So, but the point is here's how he's using it. Large tribe R-selected society punishes eye contact avoidance. Among them, it's a sign of dishonesty and shame. This is because they assume all humans are shallow, empty, subservient souls, eager to make eye contact with anybody and anything. They assume we are dogs. We are wolves. Okay, I would agree that eye contact avoidance is something that people don't like, because I'm a person who avoids eye contact. I just don't like it. It's always been uncomfortable for me. I can remember someone commenting on it, a teacher, when I was a kid, and kind of taking me aside and asking me why I don't make eye contact and trying to make me make eye contact, and kind of it was in kind of an accusatory manner. That is true. That hasn't happened all that often throughout my life. It's just something people have occasionally commented on. I think most people are too polite to make remarks about it. Or maybe they themselves are relieved they don't need to make eye contact. I don't know. I'm no mind reader. Not like this guy. Thinks he knows everything. So anyway, Neanderthals are wolves. The rest of us are dogs. Get used to it. So now we get a little into his friend Tex. Tex is an amusing figure in this whole Neanderthal. I don't even know if I would call it a subculture because I think it's like three people. But we have Tex Arcane, who is kind of a friend of this guy and a collaborator, I believe. And we're going to tell a little story about him, which I don't believe for a second. I mean, if it really happened, stranger things have happened, but I am skeptical of this story, at best. And this is posted under the title Edonist Racism Reply. Edonist? I'm not quite sure what that means to him yet, because he has so much material to go through. But he does have some ideas about the Bible, and he is a Christian. I don't know how that squares with the Neanderthal thing exactly, but he's got his own, homemade religion and philosophy pile of beliefs that he kind of just puts in a laundry basket. I don't know. I have no metaphor for this. Let's go on. Edonist Racism Reply. And this was on August 8th of 2015. And we just start with that story about Tex. Here's Tex's version. This is Tex's version of a story told by Tex. So this is straight from the horse's mouth, guys. About 3 weeks ago, somebody at a job interview asked me if I was some kind of weirdo or something. I told them, I'm not a weirdo, I'm a Neanderthal. My pedigree was never in question. I'm descended from a 1 million-year-old race of hominids who are the most genetically superior race of men that has ever existed. I can plant my foot in a fossil bed in Europe dated at 800,000 years, and my foot is a perfect match for that footprint which was made before Snowball Earth, meaning my kind survived in conditions that would have certainly exterminated you and everybody you know. Homo sapiens is a breed that can barely establish its own existence anywhere before 38,000 years, and is a short-term phenomenon at best. Do you harbor a hatred for the natives on this planet? If you do, I guess we won't be working together. I would only recommend hiring somebody like me if you are tired of listening to your own kind tell you whatever they think you want to hear, and you have decided you are desperate enough to resort to hiring someone competent. Think I blew the interview, right? They called security and had me thrown out of the building? Nope. They apologized profusely. One guy said he had a cousin with autism and was not prejudiced against autistic people. I corrected him by telling him I was not autistic or pathological in any way, according to recent CT scans of human brains in the UK. I was a Neanderthal. I told them that if they thought that was a bad thing, then we shouldn't waste each other's time. Their manager apologized again and said it was an inappropriate comment to make to me at the interview, and that nothing I had said or done had deserved it. Alright. Here's what I think might have really happened. Somebody did make an inappropriate comment, and they were worried about the potential backlash of insulting an autistic person, a person who might have a disability. The fact that this guy thinks he's a Neanderthal, I don't know how much he brought this up. I don't know if he actually made this speech that he says he made. I also don't know what type of job. Maybe it's a type of job where this doesn't matter. But all I can see here is that the manager was, or the manager was probably worried about, I don't know, about lawsuits or just any kind of backlash, because you can't refuse to hire, I mean, in theory, you can't refuse to hire somebody because of a disability. And if the manager had reason to believe the guy might be autistic, yeah. So I think it's hard to parse out what might have actually happened here. I don't think that this version is the full story. So I got home, and a couple hours later my recruiter called to tell me they offered me the position, but it was too late. I had already signed on somewhere else. That is where I am working now. Stop appeasement. We're the natives. They can try to explain to us what in the hell they are doing on our planet. Freaky eyes that can't even adjust to sunlight, and fruity spectator sports-loving mediocrities sucking up the professions they aren't even interested in or show any aptitude for. We make sense. We're the Neanderthals. We don't have anything to apologize for unless it is being perfectly adapted by 1 million years of natural selection. They're the ones that just seem a bit off. We're Neanderthals, but we prefer Mr. Neanderthal, sapes. We're natives of this planet and have a million-year tenure that some gang-raping, spear-chucking, locust, swarm-kill monkeys pretending to be people can't put a dent in with a puny 38,000-plus-year manic streak during the interglacial. Fat lady isn't singing, sapes. Don't run that victory lap just yet. That's my advice. Thalls, stop appeasing. When I finish my computer game, I will elaborate. When I first read this, I thought he actually meant he was just playing a computer game. In fact, he's written one, or programmed one. I have not played it, so I can't speak to the quality. But yeah, Texarkane made a computer game. Maybe it's good. Go check it out. When I finish my computer game, I will elaborate much further. For now, stop appeasement. It's not working, and that's why we need to approach the problem another way. Don't apologize for being different from them. I can't imagine anything more wonderful than to wake up one morning and discover you are vastly and irreconcilably different from Homo sapiens. What an honor. Thank God every morning, Thal. Yeah, I don't know. Actually, I'm starting to remember now I read a review of his game that was kind of like, it's okay. So maybe don't check it out. I don't know. He's a weirdo. Um, Maybe he'll stop doing this and start making more games though if people play them. That would be less interesting. So we go back to our friend Koanic Soul, and he comments, Tex is a uniquely strong Neanderthal phenotypic expressor due to his early bleach ingestion epigenetic trigger. Let me repeat that. Early bleach ingestion epigenetic trigger. That's what caused him to be a uniquely strong Neanderthal phenotypic expressor. Really? So if you ingest bleach early enough, you're going to express the phenotype of a Neanderthal in a very prominent, a noticeable way. I wish this were explained more. Koanic goes on. The exact script above won't work for most, and certainly not for hybrids such as myself. My Morton's toe expression is weak to non-existent. I guess that must be a Neanderthal feature. Here's a response I'm comfortable with. I'm a Neanderthal separatist. You Homo sapiens genocided my people when you invaded Europe. Where'd you think you got that 100 IQ? Millennia of gang rape. Without us, you'd still be pooping in your drinking water. The genocidal spear-chucking zombie horde is your species' only accomplishment. You'd think that genes would be like mixing paint, but actually it's more like shuffling cards. Every now and then the Joker pops to the top. Your kind has always hated mine and always will. If you didn't need us to keep the lights running, we'd have died out long ago. But we're finally waking up. We'll find each other, separate from you, and watch you starve. We've been on this planet for 1,000,000 years. You'll be lucky to last through the interglacial. This works because you can be dedicated to Neanderthal separatism without being fully Thal. That I'm also an MT separatist just introduces unnecessarity. He says unnecessarity complexity. So he's an MT separatist, which is a melonhead Thal separatist. Like, okay. So based on the shape of our heads, we should be forming like 10 different clubs. Yeah, so that was him, like I said, getting a bit poetic and also explaining a little more about what it really means to be a Neanderthal. Now, it seems like there's an association with autism on the part of Koanic Soul, but on the part of Tex, no. There's also, as I mentioned before, an association with introversion, and they seem to think highly of their own intelligence. Beyond that, we don't learn much from this except for how passionate this guy is about this, and how much time he's spent, building these little clubs and thinking about this and comparing it to dogs and wolves, finding new ways to explain it. We've got here is a bit of propaganda in a way. Because all of this makes being a Neanderthal sound quite attractive. particularly maybe for younger introverted people, especially men, um, who feel like they can't get power or achievement in any other way. Maybe people who are on the nerdy side. I'm guessing, he's appealing to that demographic as well. So that's about all I have to say about this particular episode. And I do hope you enjoyed looking at some of this guy's more of this guy's crap. We'll be doing a little bit more again later, and soon we'll be done with him. Maybe we'll move on to Tex Arcane. I don't know if I still feel interested in this modern Neanderthal movement. We'll be moving on to Tex Arcane next. I can promise you. But if I drop my interest, which I might, if I who knows what my whim will be. Thank you for listening.